Hi guys, in this video I'm going to be looking in much more depth at my basing scheme that I'm going to be using for my Oathmark army.
Scruffy Crow.
So what we've got here is 3 Ogres I painted up ages ago. I believe there's a video on my channel for them. I'll link it in the description if I remember. But they were just painted up in general, just sort of standard fantasy look, leather and fur and metal, what have you. I'm pretty happy with the way they came out. These are Golfag's Mercenary Ogres, and I've got 6 of them. But they were based, I can't remember exactly how they were based now, but they were based in a way that I changed my mind about. So I've popped them off the bases they were on and put them on these flat renderer ones. I've also kept the studs on the bottom of their feet, so I just popped the holes through, glued them on and then filed those flat, so you get these little flat spaces under there. But yeah, as you can see at the moment, they don't have any texture on there or any paint, colour, anything. So we're going to sort that out. We're also going to have a look at a tray for them to go on. So I did make a couple of attempts at the tray. So this was 3D printed. Ignore the filler. That was to try and give it a bit of texture while I was working on it. But the problem is, if you do, first of all, my printer doesn't reach this far. So for Oathmark, that'd have to be 150 mil, so 15 centimeters across. Which this is, but I had to print it in 2 separate parts, and then I was trying to work out an interlocking system that would work with the elephant foot in the printer does, an interlock, and even when I figured something out, it didn't quite work. You can see there's these holes, and then the individual parts bowed. That's something I've been getting round by curing them in between 2 sheets of heavy glass, but then yeah, getting them to glue nicely, getting the whole big thing to stay flat. I don't think I'm going to try that again, because as you can see, because we've only got a thin section to glue them on together, even with the interlocking bits, obviously that's quite thin. This resin is fairly fragile. No, yeah, it's not like like a hard plastic like that. I don't think this is going to be the way forward. I mean, I'm enjoying printing the smaller ones for even the sort of 100 by 50mm bases that I've been using for my giant and such. Here's an example of one of them that I'm working on. But even then, I ended up with a bit of a bow on it, and then just trying to gently try and squeeze that out, I did snap it in half. So these larger surfaces, no matter how careful I am, we get a lot of warping. So I'm going to try something a little bit different as part of this video as well. But the main concern is going to be my basing scheme. We're going to start though with a bit of PVA. And now normally with my models, I put all the PVA and everything on before they're painted. So, and then as I paint them up, I paint the sand just like it was as if it was part of the model, and then yeah, neaten up the bases. So yeah, this is not the way around I normally do it. So once we've got the glue on, they're just going to go and have their normal little sort of frolic in this bird sand. So this is just like pet shop bird sand, though it's like slightly coarser than you normally find. And it's got these little bits of eggshell and stuff in there, which I think gives you a bit more variation in texture. And then we'll just tap them off, and while the glue's still wet, we'll just remove any excess from around their feet, though I think I've done a pretty neat job. And then I'm going to have to give those, 24 hours plus to dry. So I'll come and look at these again tomorrow evening. Okay, so the sand is now dried on these, it's got nice and crispy. I'm just going to remove any of these little flaky bits that we don't want. Make sure that's not gone onto the models anywhere we don't want. I said, so normally I would paint these all together. I'd spray paint the sand, like I'm prepping these models in the background here. They're all going to get sprayed together. But that's not an option because we're rebasing these. So I've got a relatively big brush, but one I've still got some control over, and I've got some Rhinoxide. I'm watering this down, but in the lid, sort of half-icing it a little bit, but we're getting that a little bit more watered down. And this is probably going to take a couple of coats, but we're going to be careful around the feet and then be a bit more slapdash as we go around the rest of the base. Careful around the feet. And I'm just going to cover up all the sand with this. As you can see, it actually takes it surprisingly well. I'm always been dead against brush undercoating actual models, especially metal ones. You can get away with it with bones and some resin stuff sometimes, but the actual sand around the bases and stuff actually works quite well undercoated like this. So actually you can see I'm probably not going to need a second coat to get nice to the edges and everything. Okay, so now I've got the bases all painted up. Now we need a tray to put them on. And what I've done is I've cut out, this is 150 by 50 wide, so this is the correct tray size. And what I've printed, now obviously the reason why I didn't print this as we saw was that they warped on me. But what I've printed here is these 3 rings. I designed these in Tinkercad. It's just a tube there and then a bit of a semicircle, just sort of blend them in with the ground a bit. And I was actually able to print these all at once on the bed like that, and they went right end to end. As you can see, that's why I couldn't print it in a line, because I said that was the limit of my sort of bed size. They are a little bit connected, but they should snap in the right place. I've marked that out super quick, fairly rough and ready. Oh, by the way, this is just the back off an old picture frame, so it's still a bit raggedy now, but we'll go around with a bit of sandpaper in a second, just neaten up all these edges. But yeah, quickly mark that out. And then I should be able to place the rings on here, like so. And then that'll be my tray. To use some super glue. This is just stuff I buy off eBay. I prefer gel super glue, especially for stuff like this. Actually, before we glue them down, actually, take an old emery board here. Just going to flatten down this edge. It's just nice and smooth. I said I quite like these old picture frame backs. It's probably just pretty much just 2mm MDF really, and yeah, you can cut it with a Stanley knife. That's all I used. So yeah, I'm just going to glue these down. Okay, before I put the sand on, I've just put a quick layer of this wood filler down as well, just to sort of smooth the differences between the edges of those and the base itself. Okay, so now all my ogres are matching their base. We've got all this boring brown sand texture that we want to cover. I did this the same way as I ended my King's Guard video. We've got 6 and 4mm tufts and some bushes, all from warpainter.net. I grabbed these off eBay. And some flowers, and some ground sort of foam flock, and some grass. This is just Jarvis spring grass, I think. I'm going to start with the tufts, and I've got quite a good adhesive on these, so I'm just going to trust that these are going to stay where I put them. And then the longer grass, we want this to be pretty random, which is kind of hard when you've only got these sort of areas to work in. And the flowers for this force, I'm mostly just going to stick with the yellow and white ones, because I think they're the colours that are going to work best with my army, I think. And I've actually seen some quite nice bases where literally tufts is all they've used. They've just sort of put them all really close together until that's kind of all you've got, which I think looks kind of nice. But it's not what I'm going to be going for. I think that's going to be more or less how we're going to leave the tufts. I've now got an old grabby cheap paintbrush and a little bit of PVA I was just using for something else, and I'm just going to paint quite a bit. This is where we're going to put the Jarvis grass. According to my handwritten pot, is 2 mil summer grass. Keep it all nice and bright. Still gonna have some of this sort of muddy, textured ground showing through. Okay, so we've got some glue down, and now I've got this trusty beading tray. Make sure there's nothing to contaminate it. And I'll give the grass a little bit of a shake. I don't know if it helps or not. And we want to get it nice and staticky. And I'm just going to take clumps. I'm just going to jam them down into the wet glue. And the same on the bases. And then we'll start by tapping off the excess. But then also by blowing them. Which helps to make everything stand on end. And I quite like the fact this grass is a bunch lighter than the tufts. It's the kind of look I was aiming for. And then the last stage, back with a paintbrush, we're going to paint a few more spots. But these are going to be more just little spots, and we want quite a deep little bit of glue each time here. And we can put this on top of the other 2 layers as well. Like I'm doing here, just splodging that in between the tufts and the grass. And this is going to be the foam. Previously Luke's APS, I guess it'd be Geek Gaming now. Although I've got some very similar stuff from Foreground, but this is quite old as well, so I don't know if they still make it either. And again, I'm just taking pinches of it, and we're just pushing that into all our little glue marks. I'm actually pushing that down into the glue. Knock the excess off. I think that's giving us the perfect finishing touches there. And I think I'm not going to seal any of that. I'm pretty happy that's all going to stay on, or at least the majority of it's going to stay on through come rain or shine, so I'm happy with that. And there we have the completed Ogres on their lovely lush base, and I'm really happy with the way they're looking and the way they've come out. And I think this is a very quick but very effective little basing thing, and I don't think it's awfully expensive. All the bits and pieces I've used have come off eBay very cheaply, and I think I've got enough tufts here to cover the whole army, and more than enough of the other items. So yeah, I would say can't wait to get these guys on the table, but I'm kind of thinking I've replaced the Ogres in my army list with small Ents, but at least I'll be able to reuse the tray. And that's all for this video. Please let me know what you thought down in the comments, maybe subscribe for more, and as ever, thanks for watching, bye!